With The Conjuring 3 soon to hit theaters, we thought we'd take this opportunity to talk about the history of ghosts in movies. It's a history that goes back as far as the movies themselves. The very first horror movie, Le Manoir du Diable, released in America in 1896 as The Haunted Castle, features the appearance and disappearance of ghostly figures through the use of jump cuts. Our relationship with ghosts in movies is complicated. They are the only supernatural entity that many in the audience believe to be real. Nobody claims to have seen a werewolf or a vampire, but ask just about anyone and they'll have a ghost story that they or somebody close to them experienced.
Look, I know the supernatural is something that isn't supposed to happen, but it does happen.
What makes ghosts a powerful subject is that they represent us. Most of us are scared of dying and worry about what happens to us or our loved ones after we're gone. So even though they may be scary, ghosts show us that our spirit may live on. The history of ghosts in film are littered with examples where the ghosts are friendly, are doing good, or are trying to help the living.
What are you grinning at, you ghost?
And sometimes we even find the idea of ghosts to be funny.
He slimed me.
But for the most part, audiences prefer their ghosts scary. And many of the most memorable and highest grossing horror films of all time feature ghosts, including what many consider to be the best horror film of all time, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. Based on a Stephen King novel, poor young Danny has the ability to see the dead and is tormented by them throughout the film.
Come and play with us, Danny. Forever and ever and ever.
While Jack Nicholson is driven over the edge of madness by his interactions with the Overlook Hotel's apparitions. 40 years later, the ghosts in The Shining remain some of the most iconic ever committed to film. Robert Wise's The Haunting, an adaptation of a Shirley Jackson novel, may just be the scariest black and white film of all time. The ghosts themselves are never seen, but they are certainly felt and heard.
God! Whose hand was I holding?
In the film, a paranormal investigator invites a group of people to stay at Hill House, the site of many unexplained deaths and ghostly sightings. Throughout the night, they are visited by a number of spirits, each more terrifying than the last. The film uses sound superbly, with the set design, cinematography, and editing all greatly influencing the sustained suspense of the film.
Doc, I'll let you have the house cheap.
Supposedly based on a true story, 1979's The Amityville Horror was a huge hit with audiences. The film was inspired by the experiences of the Lutz family, who bought a home in Amityville, New York, where a mass murder had happened. In the film, James Brolin and Margaret Kidder moved their young family into a seemingly idyllic home, only to be haunted relentlessly by disembodied voices and bleeding walls.
Get out!
Until Dad tries to chop them all up with an axe. Real or not, the film inspired multiple sequels and a remake in 2005. 1982's Poltergeist,
They're here.
directed by Texas Chainsaw Massacre's Tobe Hooper and produced by the godfather of blockbusters Steven Spielberg, was the perfect mix of unrelenting horror and popcorn fun. The ghostly effects were ahead of their time and brought the terror of watching too much TV and living in suburbia to life. The film was well regarded by critics, adored by horror fans, and influenced countless other films in the years to come.
What's happening?
In The Sixth Sense, young Haley Joel Osment can see dead people.
I see dead people.
The film deftly rides the line of sensitive family drama and outright terror. And with one of the greatest twists in the history of cinema, it racked up box office like no horror film before it, and remained the highest-grossing horror film of all time until it was recently passed by 2017's It.
Don't go home, okay?
I definitely won't.
With its very realistic found-footage style, Paranormal Activity blew audiences' minds. A young couple is being haunted by the supernatural, and decide to set up video cameras to capture the horrific events. Every time night falls, the tension takes over, and we're spooked over and over again as the couple are relentlessly tormented by this unseen entity. The film was crafted brilliantly by director Oren Peli for only $15,000, and its super low budget helps it feel all that more real.
Just let's go. Please, let's go. Let's just go right now. Let's just get in the car. Let's go.
Of course, the idea of ghosts aren't regulated to just American films. Every culture around the world has their theories of what the afterlife looks like. So we can't pass up the influence J-horror had on the world in the early part of this century. With their long dark hair covering their creepy pale faces, these ghosts dominated horror cinema for almost a decade, and included terrifying films like The Grudge, Dark Water, Pulse, and most famously Ringu, which brought the idea of haunted videotapes to life. Many of the films got an American remake, with 2002's The Ring being far and away the best of the bunch. We could go on and on about ghosts in films. We're merely scratching the surface of the subject. If we had more time, we'd talk about these films as well. But if you have the chance, also check out The Changeling, The Devil's Backbone, Candyman, Insidious, Oculus, The Others, and Ghost Story.
Are you a ghost too?
I'm the ghost with the most, babe.
Wrapping it up, we've got to talk about the Conjuring series. In 2013, the first film featured Ed and Lorraine Warren, a married couple who investigated real-life paranormal events in the 1970s and 80s. The film was genuinely scary, and a huge hit with audiences, spawning 2 direct sequels, including this summer's The Devil Made Me Do It, also spinning off 3 Annabelle films, and 2 more films that expand the Conjureverse, with The Nun and The Curse of La Llorona. The films range from terrifying to pretty lame, but there's no doubt that they pack a mean punch in the recent history of ghosts on films. Hey Tonglers, thanks for watching our history of ghosts in film. Remember to like and subscribe for more exclusive Tongal content. And if you're a creator, be sure to visit the Tongal website at tongal.com for some exciting opportunities.